Welcome back to Rediscovering Childhood podcast. I'm Mireia, your host, and today I welcome Reuben the Entertainer to the studio. He is a magician, comedian, entertainer, TV presenter, and now he's also an educator because he has created 3 incredibly engaging shows for primary school children, covering very relevant topics such as bullying, the impact of social media, exercise and well-being, and so much more. And he educates children, combining his skills as an entertainer and comedian to make them aware of the impact that the modern world has on them. Join us for a really uplifting, powerful and inspiring episode to discover how he explains very complex topics to children and how he built his career following his passion so nothing can stop him. You might even laugh too. Let's get started. So a few weeks ago, I was lucky enough to attend an amazing show at my kids' school. They launched the Go Phone Free campaign and they celebrated, because it was a great celebration, with a really good show with the amazing Reuben the Entertainer. I was lucky enough to go see the show and I was fascinated how he combined so much learning, entertainment, fun and laughter for all kids and adults. And we're so lucky to have him here today. Welcome to the podcast.
How are we doing? How are you?
Very good. Are we going to laugh today?
Hopefully.
Okay.
A dry talk, for an hour. That's not what you want. Reuben the Entertainer, come in here and bore you to tears. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
That won't happen. So tell us about the show and how did you come up? Because I thought it was absolutely brilliant how you managed to teach such abstract concepts for the children that can be quite complicated to understand for such small children through so much fun and engagement.
Well, thanks very much. I'm delighted that you kind of enjoyed it as well. My goal is to try and get everyone in the room to enjoy it. So that, the kids, the teachers, everyone. And this was not my idea. I can't claim any of the responsibility for this. Literally, I am a children's entertainer. I've done it for years, so literally 42 years now, going to birthday parties, that sort of thing. And I found over the years that I used to do magic. And then I found that I preferred sort of making people laugh. And when a trick broke, I just didn't bother replacing it. I just got rid of it and I have less and less equipment. So the show is just me coming out and doing funny things, chatting to kids. Obviously then COVID struck a few years ago, which was fantastic for the business. As you can imagine, live entertainment just disappeared overnight. And that was not great for a few years. But then when that came back, things started to pick up a bit more. And then just literally about a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years at this point, I just thought I'll go into the local school where we have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, go in and just say, would you like a free show? Just magic, comedy, entertainment. For the 700 pupils, we'll do 2 shows, 350 and 350, and I'll give out some business cards, bit of business like that. So the principal was like, oh, that's very nice, thanks very much. So I did the show. So at the end, she brought me into the office, she said, thanks so much for doing that. And she says, that was wonderful. She says, now don't take this the wrong way. So I was like, oh no, did I say something wrong? What's going on? And she said, you're really good at keeping their attention. I was like, oh, thanks very much. Going, that's not an insult. Why? She said, but you could do something useful with it. So I was like, okay. And she said, I know that laughing is very important and we have well-being weeks and we'll book you in to come and do the show. That's great. But she said, you hold their attention and there's like junior infants watching you for an hour with 6th class sitting in the same room, all watching you for an hour. And said, we don't very usually get that. You could definitely do something. So I was like, what do you mean? What sort of message? And she goes, well, I specifically want a message about social media. And she says, I think it would aimed for maybe older kids, junior infants are a little bit young, but sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th class, something about social media, how addictive it is, the effect it has on you, that sort of thing. But I want it to be interactive. We've had people come in here and do talks before. And they said, oh, it's going to be very interactive. And then we watched them doing a show. The kids sit on the benches for an hour and they put their hands up twice in an hour. And she says, that's not interactive. That's just a lecture. And they're saying all the same stuff that the teachers say. So the pupils are going, we know all this stuff because it's very on curriculum. It's very, which of course you have to do. You can't be talking about anything off the top of your head, but it's not entertaining. And these are not entertainers. They're perfectly professional. They're teachers coming in and they're saying stuff on a script, but it's that we just want a fun sort of show. So I was like, that sounds impossible. I said, I don't know. I said, I could certainly come in and be funny, whatever. But I said also, it would be months of work to write something like that, like an hour in length. And she goes, yeah, I don't want a 10-minute talk. I want like a full experience. So I said, I don't know what I would charge you to do that because you wouldn't have the money to pay me to work for that on 3 months. And she said, no. She said, if you can make this work, every school in the country will book you for it. She said, I'll make sure I WhatsApp everyone. I'm in different groups and everything. So I was like, okay. So I was talking to my wife and she was like, are you crazy? You have to do this. And I was like, it's so much work. And she says, I know, but you're excited about it, and I'm a total nerd. I love gadgets, I love technology, anything like that. But I'm also really concerned about how it affects kids and stuff. And also, my son was probably the only child in the entire school who didn't have a mobile phone in sixth class. So that's like unheard of nowadays. But we were like, no, you get your phone at the end of sixth class. On this particular date, we told him that since first class, and we're like, that's just how it goes. And he, once or twice he asked about it, and then he was like, well, that's just how it goes. That's it. So it never came up. It was never an issue. It was never a thing. And he was happy enough to go with that. So that was it. So I put the head down, started coming up with the ideas, and then I liked the idea of like a one-word title for a show. That's kind of cool, to one sort of thing. So I just called it Hacked. And the idea was that people think, oh, it's about hacking into a phone or hacking into an account. And of course, when they sit there for the hour, they slowly, it dawns on them that basically the phones are essentially hacking the humans, because they get in there, they sort of access your brain, they manipulate your emotions and do all this sort of stuff. But how on earth do I get that across to a 9-year-old? I can talk to yourself, I can talk to a parent, and I can get the idea across. But how you make this appealing to a 9-year-old, because they're like, I like looking at a screen, and this is great, and this is awesome. And ultimately, no matter what I say, a kid is going to use a phone as much as their parent allows them to use the phone. So if I say, you should only use it for 10 minutes a day, but my mum says I can use it for 5 hours a day, they're like, we don't care, Baldy, you're very funny, but we're going to use the phone for 5 hours a day. So I was like, well, that's no use just giving a lecture. So I have to sort of say, look, if you notice these things, if that affects you, and you may not know because you're quite young, but as you get older, you'll notice things. Here's things you can watch out for, and the little tricks that they use in manipulating your emotions and stuff. So anyway, I spent 3 months preparing it, and I said to the principal, I said, look, can I do the show twice, because I've never done this before. I'll do an hour, then give me an hour to sit down and go through, pull the notes apart, scribble things out, all that sort of stuff. I have 3 sort of rules that I have about the show. So number 1 is it has to be entertaining, which sounds like a daft thing to prioritize, but I think that when you walk in the door, and I'm now going to schools for the second time, as soon as you walk in, the kids don't know what you're going to talk about, but they're like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. And they're excited to see you. They don't know whether it's about bullying or well-being or what the topic is, but they're excited. So that's great, because that opens the door for you straight away. And the second thing is I want it to be so relevant to sort of 9 to 12-year-olds. The well-being show that I do is for maybe younger kids as well. And junior and senior infants would just be too young. I tried experimenting with that age group with a friend who is a principal of the school, and we tried to experiment there, and we both agreed, yeah, they're a little bit too young. So that's fine. I'm just got to try things out to see how it works, and trial and error. And did that. And so that's kind of it at the moment, how it sort of works out.
So you have 4 shows.
Well, I have 3 shows. So I have the Hack Show, which is the first one. And for any school that hasn't booked me before, I sort of say it's a good sort of start off point, because everybody's worried about social media. It generally speaking talks about phones and stuff as well. And then because I look to see, I don't want to just write a show just for the good of my own ego. I got to go, what do schools need? If there's a square socket and I'm trying to hammer a triangle into it, it doesn't really help. Where they're going, we need a triangle, and you go, that's great. So the social media was a big thing. Well-being was another big. Also, well-being is a very wide topic. So my show, the well-being show, specifically deals with things you can do with your body to improve your mental health. So I'm not talking about meditation, but I'm talking about exercise and breathing and things like that. So because I could write 10 shows on well-being, so I kind of go, well, I have 1 anyway, and that'll do that. And then the third one was obviously bullying was a huge thing. And originally the Hack Show, the principal said to me, can you do one about social media and bullying? I was trying to get all that into an hour. And I was like, actually, I have so much material here, but I was so precious about the material, I didn't want to delete anything, because but these are my little babies. I can't get rid of them now. But then it's okay if I say, oh no, I'll take it out and I'll put it into a new show. Then it's like, oh, I'm not ruining it. It's just going into another little package somewhere else. So I took out all the bullying stuff and I added in peer pressure stuff, and I put a bit of cyberbullying stuff, and that became Pushed, which is the bullying show as well. And so now you have 3 different things. So the current show I'm working on is called Distracted. And the idea is that it's all about screen time and the kind of alarming statistics about screen time. And this applies to kids, adults, grandparents. It affects all of us, and just the fact that it sounds mad, but at one point, in the future, I may do a show on addictive things, everything from high energy drinks to nicotine and things like that. And people sort of say, well, you can only so much you can talk about with primary school kids. And
it's the same effect on our brain, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing, and also I would argue, I know it sounds mad, whatever, but I would say that, people say, oh, heroin, that's the most addictive thing in the world. And I'm going to go, no, I think phones are. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. People go, that's madness. I go, well, I can walk down the street. I don't see people on heroin everywhere. Go to certain places, you will, but I walk down, but everybody is on the phone. It doesn't matter if you're a grandparent, if you're a teenager, if you're a kid, you're trying to work out how can I get on a phone, because my mum won't give me a phone.
She's not looking.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason is because it's socially acceptable to be addicted to a phone. And because of that, if everyone was allowed to be on heroin, everybody would be on heroin, but it's illegal. You know, it is very, I'm not trying to minimize the effect of it, whatever, but I kind of go, everybody has a phone. Everyone all the time is thinking, how can I look at the phone?
Yeah.
You're sitting in a room by yourself. There's no chit chat with people anymore. A friend of mine is a secondary school teacher, and he says the way he put it, he goes, there's no crack in the staff room anymore. He used to go into there, when he was the youngest teacher in there, and he was like the cool teacher coming in, you know, and he said, when I say crack, it's not like people messing, but he'd come in there and like he teaches maths, and he said he'd have honours maths students for the leaving certificate, and fair play to anyone with math teachers where you're like a page ahead of the students because it's so difficult. And he says, guys, I got to teach this in 2 hours. Just let me work. Can someone give me a hand working this out here? So they sit down, they all kind of rough in and pull up the chairs, whatever. And now he says, if I do that, they all look up from their phones, kind of like, what? Like, why? Like, it's an inconvenience. And he's like, but like the camaraderie, he said, it's all gone. He said, I just go and hang out in the woodwork room with my friend now instead, because it's not as much crack, you know. And he said, it's terrible. And I remember talking to a principal the other day, and I said, now, of course, we're trying to keep the kids on this, and then the teachers are doing the flicky on this stuff. What happens when the principals are the ones that are obsessed with the phones? They can see the danger, but in 20, 30 years' time, you know, they'll all be gone, and it'll be the people addicted to phones who are the principals now, and whether or not they're like, sure, it's grand to have the kids on the phone. I don't like. Part of me goes, are we rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic? You know, it's a case of like, look, just somebody think of the children and the phones. Where it doesn't matter, they're all going to get phones soon. Toddlers will have a phone. You'll be giving christening presents of phones to kids. You know, it'll just get ridiculous because like it used to be that like a phone was, and bear in mind, like the iPhone came out in 2007. I know because it was the year myself and my wife got married, because we drove across America in a convertible. It was very cool. But we finished up in Las Vegas, and for a few days there, which is hilarious when you don't drink and you don't gamble, because you get to abuse all the facilities without paying a penny, which is great. But we got there, and the iPhone was launched in a big Apple store, and I have a picture of me standing beside it with a big thumbs up. That was 2007. So that was like 17 years ago. So before that, there was none of this. There were phones, but they looked like a brick, and you just sent a text and the battery lasted, a month on it. And that was it. And then these came in, and obviously it was like pretentious businessmen had them first in car phones, and then they got the size of a suitcase, got smaller and smaller. And then eventually, when the iPhone came in, touchscreen, that sort of stuff came in and became more and more prevalent. Obviously, it was sort of a rite of passage to going to secondary school. You get your phone. That's just what you do, because a lot of teenagers' social life is based around the apps and stuff. And I fully understand that you can't just isolate someone from all their friends. But you don't necessarily have to have all your friends through that. You're physically sitting in a class with them, But anyway, so that was a thing that would. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. But anyway, is that the idea of the phones getting given to younger and younger. So then it was kind of like, COVID came along, and the problem was people were like, I'm at work, I have to
entertain.
I have to do something here quickly. Just do your work. And then obviously they were on Zoom with their here, use this device because I'm on the laptop with my boss. Use the laptop. So kids are just on phones more. So that sort of skipped a whole lot of age preference for kids. So now they're much younger coming in, and it was sort of, it's your confirmation, and we get that. And that now it's sort of jumped down to like it's your communion and going down. And like I did a show, I won't say where it was a couple of months ago, and the teacher did say, she said, this is quite a disadvantaged area, but she says, I was doing just a regular magic show, this wasn't the hack show, and she said half of my junior infants have phones. And I was like, that's crazy. And she said, I understand, but she says they are the best babysitter in the world. A kid will never they'll never just go, thanks Dad, that's great, and hand the phone back to you and go, I finished that, because there's no end to it. It's a bottomless pit of unbelievable entertainment and fun and stuff, and and she said, we have kids like who were just coming to school we got these lovely new books in, and they ripped the books, and we were like, what are you doing? But they're trying to swipe. They've never held a book in their hand, and they're swiping through, and she says,
it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work, and the page is ripped, and we're like, we got funding for these lovely books, whatever. And the problem is that you're trying to talk to a parent, but then of course you come off the bad guy, because the parent is like, the kids are wrecking my head. Read a book here. I give them the phone. They leave me alone.
And it's great, because they're quiet.
And they're quick and they're quiet, whatever. And then we're going to a restaurant, have a meal here. Shut up.
Yeah.
And just throw the phone at them and do that. And I understand. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't use it for like if you're on a long haul flight with a toddler, you could bring a circus with you. I don't care, because there are times you're like, I want to plan for 7 hours. I've got 200 people who are like, will you please give something to your child, because that's other people you have to be aware of. I understand you're in a restaurant, other people have.
That's what it is for.
Yeah, exactly. It's a one-off thing where you do that. If you kind of go, oh, we do this for every single meal. Like we went for a walk down in Wicklow, myself, my wife and the kids, and we're down to see, it's that lovely tower you walk up, the big spiral tower, you know, the big slide coming down. And we're looking at it, and like my son who's 12 was like, this is just class, the trees are class. And a couple walks by, and there's like a kid who's like 7 or 8, and then there's like a kid who's maybe 2 in a buggy, but with a phone, you know, and I don't want to judge people, but I kind of go, what you're teaching them is that all of this trees and everything you're seeing, that's not enough. This is garbage. The phone is great,
and it takes practice.
And it takes, and also it won't be immediate. And I kind of go, I understand if you're in a restaurant, and you're like, oh, it's a really posh place, trying to keep the kid quiet, and that's a different sort of thing. But you're living in nature. Everyone's running around screaming and shouting. You can let them, if you want them in the buggy, that's fine, and do that. And kids get sick and they have a bad day, and you know that's fine. And a little bit more TV time helps out on that one. But just the normal thing to just give them that sort of chance, you know, to do it is just I think a much better idea, you know.
Yeah, you talk about dopamine on your show.
Yeah.
Where does dopamine come from in a world without phones?
Well, like the thing, and as I stress many times during the show, I kind of go, I am not a scientist. You know, I literally get up there and I kind of go, and then obviously when people are going to book me, they go, look, your comedy credentials, we've seen your funny clips, and we've seen, I was a presenter on RTE Junior for years, all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. But like, how much do you know the stuff? So all I know is that I kind of go, I can read a book on something here about a subject I don't know about, and I kind of go, that's very interesting, right? But that's not interesting to a 9-year-old. How do I make that interesting? Yeah. So the whole thing with the dopamine was along the lines of, you know, training a rat to press a button, and then, you know, you hit the button, it gets a peanut, it gets a dopamine rush, and it's from a surprise. And it has to be like a pleasant surprise. So if getting something pleasant isn't enough, so having pleasant surprises in your life is basically what you need to do. So if you're, you know, doing something different with kids, which is tricky, I know, because parents are like, oh, what are we going to do? We're trying to think of how we're going to do Saturday. What are we going to do? All this sort of stuff. But coming up with different sort of ideas and things like that. I'm a huge proponent of board games and card games, because I think a lot of times what stuff will happen, someone will talk and they go, the phones are bad, and we kind of go, yeah, we get it, we know the phones are bad, whatever, but like they're not bad all the time. They are good, and some of the books I've read for the Distracted Show actually show you that, you know, if you're doing studying as a teenager and you study for 25 minutes, your brain will kind of go, that's it, I can't cope anymore. But if you mess on your phone for 5 minutes, you can now study for another 25 minutes very well. You only need 5 minutes, and then you get another 25 minutes, and then 5 minutes, another 25 minutes.
A little movement break.
Exactly. So the phone has a place to do that. If you're on the phone for 5 hours, you go, yeah, we have to have a conversation again. That's gone too far, and to do that sort of thing. So like, obviously people go, what do you mean? With board games, I'm playing Monopoly with kids and everything, and I go, no, that's like a horrendous game that takes 2 hours to play, and you shout at everybody at Christmas, and then everyone goes, I'm never playing that stupid game again, and then you forget till next December. And I go, no, there's loads of games out there, different things you can get. And if you want a recommendation, and I'll give everyone a free recommendation because I love games, most of the games you get in Smith's are not great, because it used to be the rule was you had to pick up the box, and there's no instructions in the box. You have to look at the back of the box, and if you can understand the game by looking at the back of the box, that's simple enough for you to understand. Now the rule is you have to look at the cover of the box, and if you don't understand how to play the game, then it's not going to sell, because people have no patience to read the back of the box, to pick it off the shelf. Wow. So if you see again, pie face, you put your face in here, we click a little button, and one of us going to get covered in, you know, marshmallows or cream, whatever like that. That's funny, okay? Now you're not going to play that every day with your kids. At Christmas, hilarious when you have it come over to the granny and that sort of thing. But I want games that you can play which are really simple, really cheap. So a game I only got this literally the last week. This is called Sussed. It's Sussed. It's a little card game. It's about like a tenner on Amazon. I got it, and all it is basically you sit down. Really cool thing for, because I'm obsessed with tables. I think tables are the most important bit of furniture in your house. Sitting around a table with your kids is just amazing. And is it after dinner, you take out these. There's basically 200 cards, and each card has 3 questions on it, and there's 3 answers for each card. Okay, so I'll take one out here just for a laugh here to see. Okay, so it'll do things like, so for example, like if I was to ask you, I'd say, which of these do you wish you were better at? A, flying kites, B, doing push-ups, or C, staying out of trouble. Okay. And then the idea is that as the kids, they'd ask this to the mum, whatever, and the kids all make bets. They kind of go, I bet mum's going to say this. But they do it in secret. They have an A, B, and a C card. They put them down, and then mum goes, I wish I could do more push-ups. That's what my wife said. I'd love to do more push-ups. And then someone's like, and I was like, I got that. I told you she would do that, whatever. What would you go for?
I'd say...
Flying kites, doing push-ups, or staying out of trouble.
Oh.
and it's weird because
so many thoughts in my head.
I know,
right
and
now.
like Staying Out of Trouble, because some of them are loaded where you kind of go, this is just nonsense, but you kind of going, the Staying Out of Trouble one, there's a lot more going on in that question as well.
Yeah.
And what's good,
I
and
like that one.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, and it's great, and we do like, and there's 3 questions.
Yeah, I don't like homework. And
Yeah.
I wish I could just ban homework without getting in trouble. So
Oh, okay, right. that'd be good, yeah. So like, I've got this thing here, and the kids will sit down, and it's not like we're going to play this for an hour. We just take out a card, and they go, okay.
But that's hits of dopamine because you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's a nice surprise.
It's a nice surprise. And what's really good is lots of these are silly nonsense, whatever. But like, like one of them where I asked my wife was like, these are 3 sites around the world which you'd like to go and see. And I thought she'd like to go and see the Great Barrier Reef. She's like, no, I'd love to see the Amazon rainforest. And then we have a 10-minute conversation about this.
Amazing.
And the kids are going, oh, really? What's the Amazon rainforest? And you're chatting about that. And it just starts off.
And
it's
you
a silly
end up
game.
having a whole conversation.
Yeah, and it's not an airy fairy.
Booking a holiday.
Yeah, we're not going to sit down and go, now we're going to talk about our feelings today and have this wonderful, and we're going to, now how do you feel about this? It's a funny game, and there is a winner and a loser, and also, it's just like, well, my son's the loser, and you go to bed crying. That's fine, okay? But it's competitive, so everyone's like, I'm going to know mum better than you know mum, and when your kids know your wife better than yourself, you kind of go, okay, I need to chat to my wife a bit more about this, which is funny. Yeah. So it's a great little thing to do that. And what they can do is there's an extra card. You can double your bet. So you're like, I am 100% sure that mum wants to go to the Amazon forest. Dad thinks it's the Great Barrier Reef, but I think it's the Amazon forest. And if you do that, then you get 2 points instead of 1. But if you're wrong, you lose a point.
Okay.
So it's a very, very simple thing, like very simple gambling thing like that. But
and it's so easy to bring with you in your bag.
It's a little game like that where all the cards come into play like that. And they have like, there's 5 different boxes. This is all like wacky, different questions. One of them is all like stuff around the world. One of them is all like gross stuff. Would you prefer to put marshmallows in your ear, marshmallows up your nose, or marshmallows in your hair? And you're like, well, no, there's no winning answer, but you have a funny conversation about it. Anyway, so that I kind of go like that's that there, like it's a €10, and if you're looking for a stocking filler for Christmas, that's great,
Cheaper than a phone anyway.
Yeah, and I've nothing to and I've nothing to do with it. And I kind of go, people go, well, that's good. And I go, that's a nice little thing, and you have a little ritual. Sorry, getting me back to about tables, I did a show recently. I went into a house, and it was a birthday party. I think it was a 7-year-old girl. Do the show, and all the way through the show I was like, something is really annoying me about this house. It's really freaking me. I couldn't work it out because they brought me through to like the kitchen, and only when I was leaving I was like, there's no tables in this house. And I was like, how can you function like it's and then I realized, oh, they've a long corridor of a sitting room with the biggest TV I've ever seen. And I was like, and there's not even like a breakfast bar. There's nothing in there at all. So I was like, they literally eat all their meals on the couch watching the telly. And I was like, where do they do their homework? So the default setting is yeah, exactly. So you're like, no problem. Sounds awesome. Sounds amazing. That's great. Well, for reading a book, you sit there like at a table, and I was and also for like my kids love drawing and making things. Like there's nowhere
board
to
games,
anything like that. Whatever. It's just a table is just. I say to parents like the table is the most important room, the most important bit of furniture because you have all the things. And I understand. Parents work long hours and sometimes you can't all be there for a meal, but I kind of go, if you can aim for most of the time to try and do that, just
you have to make an effort. We're so like, I'm not judging. Well, I am a little bit sometimes because like
I know it's
we have to make an effort. Time doesn't come to you and knocks at your door. Hi, I'm Time here. I'm going to stay with you for 15 minutes. No, you have to make it happen.
Exactly. And like, for example, on a Monday we do what we call pizza and movie night. Okay, now our family love movies and stuff, and the kids always know we get pizza and we sit on the couch watching a movie, and it's all of us together, and we all agree in a movie. It's a connection to that sort of thing. But apart from that, we're kind of going, okay, watch telly. Like, no, we do it on a Monday, and then we're going to sit at the table and do that. And of course, I have a late show sometimes. I might be down the country. It might take me a few hours to get home, and I get back in late, whatever. But my wife will have sat down with the kids and had a meal and do that, whatever. And then sometimes they might be doing something. Oh, we'll wait for you, and have the meal together and do that. And that I understand complicated lives, but the default setting should be like, I'm trying to have a meal together. It's not going to work out all the time. I have this strange job, and that's fine. As the kids get older, I'm able to do more and more of that. So even like studying later on, you need a table, you need that sort of space. A house with no table, which is always the weird thing. I was like, what do you do? I was like, oh, yeah, TV. It's TV. Their life is TV. And I love TV and I love movies and everything like that. And that's another thing as well with like the Hack Show is that it's just to say like, yes, I do use social media, but like I have the built in on my Android phone. You can go in and it says after 10 minutes of TikTok, it just says to me, that's it, you've had enough now. Now I can go onto Facebook, it'll go, I'll give you 10 minutes of that. I'll give you 10 minutes of YouTube, 10 minutes of Instagram, whatever. But it'll just click out. And loads of times I'll be just doing something where I would have looked up and gone, oh, that was 40 minutes just wasted. Doing this, whatever. Where 10 minutes, it just clicks and go, oh, I need to get on with things. And you just a little tap on the shoulder, go, bup, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, now obviously you can put locks on a kid's phone to stop them literally not being able to get into that, whatever, which is fine. And when my son got his phone going into at the end of 6th class, we said, you can have your phone, but a great bit of advice someone said to me was, you can have the phone, but we're not going to put any social media on it. And I was like, oh, and I was that might solve a lot of issues, because if you take social media, you're like, okay, all the stuff I'm kind of cool with is actually okay in it. Now, he didn't mind. And I think also that may be a boy-girl thing as well. I think not everybody, not just generally speaking, I think the girls may be more messaging centered and connecting to people. The lads see it as a device. Oh, we play games on it. Yeah. If I go to my friend's house, I sit here and you sit there and we play a game together. We may not even be playing the same game, but we're sitting. It's a communal thing we do together, where the girls are more sort of messaging orientated. And I've seen some parents saying, "Oh yeah, my son is older. He got his phone." I was going to say, my daughter's 9. Give her the phone. I saw some of the messages, and she said also it was an awkward situation where a friend of a friend, their grandparents bought the kids phones, which is a very awkward situation to put the parents in, because they spent a lot of money on this, and the kid's like, "You're the best grandparents ever."
And then you're the worst mom.
And then you're like, "Oh, what am I going to do here?" So you're trying to. So literally, she said, the messaging was so horrendous, and this is not like a 12. This is like a 9-year-old girl, and she's like, "I wouldn't have sent this stuff when I was 15." The messaging was going on. The boys are kind of. She said, absolutely fine. They play games, they chat. I'm sure there's bullying and nasty stuff going on as well, but
generally speaking,
the girl usually they say, girls collect people, boys collect things. Usually, not always, but usually that's a good rule to sort of stick by, and has that sort of effect. So the girls sort of all the ins and outs. And I know if I'm doing the show in a girls' school and a boys' school, it's very different, because I do a lot of stuff on Instagram and filters, and obviously the lads, look at me and I go, I'll keep this brief, because maybe they have a sister, maybe they have a girlfriend. At some point, if I'm dealing with the older end of school, that might be relevant to. Where if I'm doing it at the girls' school, I'll push it a bit longer. I get a girl to come up and take a selfie, and they're always embarrassed to do it. And I go, but you'll take a selfie and send it to 300 people there, but you feel embarrassed and look like an idiot taking a selfie in front of 300 people. And you go, yeah, because you go, why? You're doing the pose with the peace sign and the duck face and this sort of stuff. But and you go, oh, it's embarrassing. I'm like, yeah, but you'll take this here and send it to all these people, but you won't do it in front of all these people, because you're going to go, yeah, this is kind of stupid. I go, yeah, but it feels okay when you're sitting in your kitchen making the funny face. I go, it is the same thing.
No one can see it behind the camera.
Yeah, exactly. and that sort of thing. And it's just funny how that. And the other thing as well, the only other thing I said to my son, because obviously he got WhatsApp for communicating with friends, is that you're not to be in an all-class group. I think that those large groups of messaging and stuff, and I have that in as part of the bullying show, is humans are not made to talk to 30 people at a time. So if I'm talking to you. Now, obviously, this is a weird situation because we're in a podcast here, so I'm being mindful of that as I say things. Anybody in the world can hear this and listen to me. I can do that. But normally, exactly, normally like that, whatever. I, if I'm talking to somebody, I would say something and I'm going to go, I can have a conversation with you. That's fine. If you're talking with 2 or 3 people, I have to bear in mind, because this person may look at life a bit differently than you may. And I'm going to go, I can't say something that I might say to them that I would say to you or something, because you have to bear in mind, if you're talking to 30 people, to know what's going on in 30 people's heads basically means, so being in a WhatsApp group of 30 people is like being a stand-up comedian, because you have a whole room full of people, and when you say something, you're going to offend somebody no matter what you say. And kids are just the thoughts in their head, and it's just straight to text and out. Not even, it's just head out, text it, and you're like, whoa.
But their brain is not developed.
Yeah,
that
don't
they can
know.
Understand
Holding back, whatever. And also, they're too young. They haven't actually insulted anyone in their life yet. Where you and I have not. We're like, I can't believe I said. I'm so sorry, but you go, I'll never let that happen again. And I've done things where I'm like, I said something like, oh, I will 100% make sure things I've done in the show where I'm like, oh, I really have to watch that. I have to be mindful of that, because I don't want them. Like, I used to do a survey of what gadgets kids have. I would say, okay, and I say stand up, because I want the kids out of the chair. I say stand up who has a PlayStation, right? Stand up who has an Xbox. Stand up who has a Switch. And of course, the kids are all jumping and down.
Well, I noticed. I don't know if you said something like that. I was somewhere else, but I noticed my son was at the show and he stood up with every single device, and he doesn't have any of it.
Oh, really?
And it was the peer pressure that.
Now, do you know what?
Is that where you're going?
It's only recent. And since
I noticed he got up each time.
That's
and
really,
PlayStation, everything. Yeah, he doesn't have any.
That's so funny, because the reason why I actually have decided to take that out of the show was because that exact reason. Because, and that's hilarious that he stood up, whatever. That's he kind of goes, I don't want to feel like left out. But the other thing is that, and the only answer I care about is who has a phone, because I kind of go, people have different consoles.
That was the question. I think he put his hand up as well.
Yeah, because the problem is that I can't find out who has a phone without everyone else in the class knowing who has a phone. Because if I say who has a phone, if they put their hand up, then they go, oh my goodness, 40 people in my class have a phone. I don't have a phone. Mum, the man said that everyone has a phone. And then I'm the exact opposite, is I don't want people to get phones. And now I'm the reason because, well, I saw 40 people in the class put their hand up. They've never actually asked everyone who has a phone, and people who aren't in their class, people that are not friends of theirs, and they go, there's so many people with phones, Mum, you have to get me a phone. Like, I feel, so I didn't want that. So I thought the only way I could do is I get all the kids in, and I might do this in the future, get everyone, I want you to close your eyes, put your head down on your laps, okay? Hands up if you have a PlayStation. Okay, now you don't see everybody else. Put your hand for 1 second, put your hand back down. So just whoop, up like that, and then okay, hands up and I make a joke. I go, hands up as a microwave, and they're we all love popcorn, and then you burst a bit of it, and then after I go, who has a phone? A few hands go up, and I go, okay, I have a rough idea who has a phone, just a number, because certain schools will have more. So I go, wow, this school, everyone has a phone. Oh, actually, quite few have here, because it's different. A lot of maybe more schools down the country might have most phones. Urban areas there would maybe more phones. There's a bit of peer pressure on the street, playing with friends and that sort of stuff, and it's definitely different. So that's it. But I remember going, I don't want that to be. So that's something in the shows where I'm like, that's something I need to watch out for. I don't want them
and it
to,
wouldn't give you real information anyway.
Well, exactly, and I kind of go, what? How does it benefit me by knowing how many kids here have a phone? We know that a lot of them in sixth class. I'm doing a show for sixth class. I'm doing a show for first class. I hope they don't have phones. But for sixth class, you kind of go, it's reasonable enough to assume. And then even the way I say things. So in the show, I used to say, I give a word called, I say the word swiper, okay? And I joke because someone from sixth class goes, swiper, oh, that's the fox from Dora the Explorer, swiper, no swiping. And of course, you love Dora the Explorer. I mean, make a big joke of the 12-year-olds going, thank you very much, I love Dora the Explorer, whatever. And we have a bit of a laugh. But the point of doing that was to say that, you look at an app and you swipe. I've kind of hijacked the word to mean an app that shows you a video, you swipe, you watch another video, you swipe, and that's what I call a swiper. That's like a TikTok and Facebook stories, Instagram Reels, anything you swipe, YouTube Shorts. But I don't want. I was kind of saying, the way when you're on a swiper, and then I was like, that's assuming that everyone in the audience has a phone, and I don't want to do that because I could be doing the show for a third class, and they're like, the sooner I get a phone, the sooner I know what this man's talking about. So I don't want that. So now what I've changed, literally over the last sort of few weeks, I kind of said, I'm going to say, so when a teenager's on a phone, and I just go, I'm just going to assume that that's the normal thing.
Okay.
If you're on a phone, you're a teenager. Okay. And even if, so the kids might be like, oh, I'm not a teenager. When I'm a teenager, I get to it. Now, of course, I love the irony of this, that because a lot of schools have this sort of get phones at a primary school, which is great. Even if every single parent and every teacher in the school agree to all this, they walk into secondary school and they get a phone and all the problems come back again. But I kind of go, we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. And first, from that primary school to secondary school is such a big jump. I think it's a good sort of way to place like that. If it's going to come back and gone to like communal level where you've got like 8 and 9 year olds, it's tricky because, well, I got this from my community. What did you? Oh, you didn't get a phone for your community? You didn't get any money?
Got a board game. Oh, loser.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the problem. So it's a solely now a lot of schools, and I know. Rachel Harper, who's in Greystone, who started the whole sort of It Takes a Village and getting phones at a school. Actually, she's the principal of what was my school when I was in primary school years ago. Went back to see her, and it's going very well, and everyone's copying each other, which is brilliant to get those sort of phones out of the school. But I said to her, you will have a difficult time getting phones out of 5th and 6th class if they have a phone already.
Yeah.
I said it's an analogy. It's like trying to get a gun out of someone's hand who likes guns. It's just like, no, God, it's my right to have a gun.
It's like giving a lollipop and then try it. You like it? Yeah, okay.
And take it away. Yeah. So I said, I think schools, whatever, and also what a lot of teachers said, they're under this terrible pressure now. They said that parents are coming up to them going, listen, this whole no phones thing that's the voice they use. The voice. This whole phone thing, I totally agree with it. Whatever. Now, I wouldn't be able to, of course, say that to my child. So if you could just tell the children,
you're the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the teacher like good cop, bad cop. We're the bad cop again. It used to be like a parent teacher meeting. It used to be like you'd have the parents and the teachers here as a team, sort of going, how can we help the pupil? Now it's the pupil and the parents versus this combative thing.
I'd love to give it to you, but teacher won't let me.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing, whatever. And they're like, oh, it's so terrible, whatever. I'm like, does nobody say no to their kids anymore as well? Like, it's quite important, And anyway, so that was the thing where it's like I said to her, your best bet is not to write off 5th and 6th class. You can still educate them on what the effects are, because
just create the awareness of noticing what you were saying.
Exactly. In a year's time, they're going to be in secondary school. They're going to get the phone anyway, and that's fine. But I said, if you start with first class and you kind of go, you absolutely will be getting a phone at the end of sixth class. That's summer break. It's a good time because they're with their friends. They get all their numbers and stuff, and you have it over there, and you have it, and you start, and you go, and you follow up. So sixth class or second class, you go, right, don't forget now, a couple of years down, age out the kids with the phones, and you start young. Now I realize the parents have to sort of agree with that as well, but if it's young, it's a lot easier than trying to, fifth and sixth class. And any parents I've talked to are like, we are just so glad, because we just don't want to be the odd ones out. We don't want to be like every kid has a phone except our son. And if people are like, do you not love your child? This sort of thing. And no one says that, but it's some minimal thing. It's like, oh, never expect, you cannot afford that. Things a bit tough, And it's like, no, because we don't think it's a good idea. Yeah. Where if you're the only one to try and get a phone, because no parent wants to spend a couple of $100 on a phone for an 8-year-old, that is a very high chance of dropping the phone and smashing it, because it's not as delicate. A teenager's like, this is my social life, I will hang on to this like a baby.
It's a toy.
It's just a toy, whatever. And you kind of go, just get them a toy instead. Get them a toy instead. And also, there's this sort of unwritten rule. It's like, well, we hung on as long as we could, but like my 9-year-old has a phone now, so I guess all the toys just in the bin. I'm like, no, hang on, what are you doing? Okay, this isn't instead of everything else. I kind of go, like, we have a PlayStation in our house, we have an Xbox in our house, we have a Switch in our house, but like
it's not a replacement.
It's not a replacement, and people kind of go, well, like when kids come over, like, and my son who's 12 is going to be 13 in 3 weeks' time. When his friends come over, like he's into Dungeons and Dragons, okay? And, I remember explaining this to his teacher in 6th class, and he's like, so what are they going to, what is this thing? Is it like they dress up? I'm like, no, they don't dress up or whatever like that. It's just, they sit at a table, and he said he'll just create an adventure. And it's a table, exactly, very important. And his friends will come in and sit down, and they will just scream and shout at each other and roll dice and have an adventure for like 3 hours. The last time they come over, like his friends forgot to bring their phones with them. The parents like, they haven't got the phone with them, and they're like, they're fine, they're in our house. Like, where do you think they're going? Like, they're fine, and doing that. And they get back, and he goes, sorry, were you guys watching, like, what were your kids doing? Like, they said they went off an adventure. Like, did you drive them somewhere? Like, no, they're at the table rolling dice, okay, and doing this, okay. And when I explained it to the teacher, I said, in 6th class, like, the homework you're giving them is not a patch on how complicated it is. Like, you'll get like an adventure book. He'll read through an adventure book of all the story of what the story is. Then he'll create characters for his friends. Friends like, oh, I want to be an orc. Okay, that's fine. Okay, you got a big axe, right? Now, if you want to roll, and you have to learn all the rules stuff. And the rule book is like a telephone.
Decision making, problem solving, imagination, creativity, all this sort of communication, everything.
Yeah, and then he has the pressure to make sure his friends have a good time. So he's like, oh, this battle is going a bit badly. So he has a little screen, he rolls a dice, and he goes, oh, the monster's about to kill one of them. I'll just pretend the number was different to make sure they get through and they survive. And the friend's like, this is brilliant.
Social skills.
Yeah, and then they go, sometimes the story might take 15 hours. So you have to come back week after week, come back in and do it. And one of his friends does it, and he comes in there, and I said, do you want to do it on the Friday? He said, oh no, I need time to prep this, like he's going to an office, but he loves it, whatever. And like to get a 13-year-old to sit down and read a big stack of books, like a foot thick hardback books, all sort of stuff, and he goes, oh, that's really, I could use this creature now. And then the friends try and come up with creative ways of getting through the problems. You're like, okay, you're in a room, it's a dungeon here, there's a trap, and he goes, okay, we got to get a rope. We've no rope. Okay, I can do a spell. I can make a vine grow down. Okay, make a vine. We could swing over in a vine. And then he's like, okay, they've thought a way out of this trap. I have to make the trap more powerful, and all sort of stuff. And that's just paper, pencil, and dice, and that's it. And obviously it's not for everybody, and it, but it's just kind of going, that's something they can get into, and be, obsessed with it. And I just think board games are great anyway. So it's really good.
It's amazing. So much goes on there, and that's what life should be about. Just those games, that teach you. Exactly. What's the quote you used for your bullying show?
The bullying show?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What's the definition of a bully?
Oh, well, now I was trying to also think I want to do, because obviously people have loads of people who will do bullying talks, and and I was like, I want to come up with a different idea. So teachers who normally come in there to sort of correct their papers whilst I'm doing the show, and at the end they're like, oh, for flip's sake, like I was trying to get an hour, I ended up watching a show going, this is really interesting, I want to get an hour of correcting done. I'm so sorry, I'll try and make it more boring for adults next time. So I thought, and I'll spend, this is why I spend 2 or 3 months. I can't just write a show. You could put the gun to my head, and I could maybe write a show in a week, but I need time to think about stuff and go, okay, and I'll read 2 or 3 books, and I'll read a book which has nothing to do with the topic. Maybe it might spark something in my head. I might watch a TV show and go, that's very interesting. So with bullying, I came up with the idea that I think a lot of bullying, not all of it, but a lot of bullying is basically people who think they're a stand-up comedian, but they're not. Okay, so if I make a joke, they're not funny, exactly. But and also the fact that like no school, you don't go to school to develop your sense of humor. It's not taught, but I think like it's one of the most important skills because it's how you get on with people. You're going to probably in an office job, probably in a cubicle. Not everybody does that, but you need to get on with people. You don't have to be, best friends with them, but you need to be friendly. And the best thing is a bit of humor. And it's not like in a curriculum, it's not taught, and then how do you learn? You just try it out with your friends and you say things and you get a laugh. You say things, you laugh, and they say things, and your friend cries and you go, oh, that was too much. Okay. But you make them cry, but 5 of your other friends laugh and you're like, oh, I feel really good doing this. It kind of sucks that this guy kind of bit the bullet on this.
I'm willing to
but I'm willing to take whatever. And then I just teach. I said people love repetition. People love the same thing. And you go into class. Like I remember that. Like I was a friend of a friend, and they when they were in primary school, it was a girl, and all the girls in her class ignored her for a year and pretended she didn't exist. Okay. And it started out probably with someone as a bit of a joke, just like, oh, I can't see you, whatever. I went on like that. And then the next day, the kids just click in and go, oh, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And people go, who started? I go, I don't remember who started this. Just what do we do? Every day we go in and we ignore this person. And then for a year, and that person had to leave school. Like it took a long time to make friends. Like it had a huge effect on their life by not having people ignore them, And I also say that bullying, you don't have to punch someone, you have to say something nasty. I said you could just not talk to someone, and that's the worst possible thing you can do to them. You exclude someone. I do an example where I say, I'm going to bully one of you here, and all these 6th class are sitting back, and I take out my phone, I go, and I say, I'm going to pretend I'm in 6th class with you. Okay, I'm going to send invitation to my party, send it to you, send it to you, send it to you. I ignore the fourth person, send it to you, send it to you. And the fourth person is like, sorry, what's going on here? And I said, was I mean to you? No. Did I say anything? Did I hit you? No. Did I steal anything? No. I didn't do anything to you. And people, lots in schools, they say, oh, do I get a screenshot of the bully? And you're like, what do you screenshot? There's nothing to screenshot. I didn't do anything. And if that person asks the person, did you forget to invite me to the party? Oh, did I invite? So sorry about that. Here's your invitation. And you're kind of like, did they actually forget? Yeah. Are they just making me ask for an invitation to sort of demean me?
I don't want to go.
I know I don't want to go, whatever. And it's a big thing. And if anyone goes along going, that's her what your daughter did to my daughter. And people go, oh, she just forgot, And the mother might be honestly, the child could be lying to the mother, and you don't know. And that's probably one of the most worst thing is just being excluded. So I try and get that idea across by sort of excluding things. I also give the example that I did street performing in Edinburgh once at the Comedy Festival, which is great fun. And whenever I do this, you can hear a pin drop in any school I go to. And I say, I used to do this thing where I would copy people on the street, and I wouldn't, kind of like a mime thing, and I would stand in the street and somebody would walk by. It would be like a guy on a phone loudly, and I would just walk along behind him. He's in the snazzy suit, whatever, and I go like this, whatever, and people start looking, going, what's this guy doing? And because it's the festival, people go, oh, he's obviously a performer. And they stop there, and suddenly there's 10 people, and then a woman walks by and she's just pushing a buggy, and I pretend to be the baby going and then I pretend the poor mother, and I follow along, and then so now there's 50 people, so suddenly there's 200 people standing in a circle, and every time people are standing there going, why are we standing here? Like, what do we look? There's nothing here. And so we go, this is stupid, get out of my way. And whoever walks by, I copy them. And they go, oh, right, I get it now, I get it like that. And this went on. Now, I know we're filming this as well, but audio listeners won't be able to work this out. But someone came through, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Someone came through, clearly was not able to walk properly, okay, had a terrible limp. Their leg was twisted in, and their arm was kind of twisted like that. And they could have limped across like that. And of course, my instant reaction was kind of go, oh, I must copy. And then I saw 200 people, no one said a word. And they were like, if you do this, we are going to box the head off you. We literally will kill you if you copy this poor guy. And I remember, and like all the students there, even when you say it, you hear like someone go, oh, like that. They put their hand to the mouth, go, like, that's horrible.
Don't do it.
And I say, why is it not funny if I copy that? And then I say, because I said, I'm not being mean, but I said, but the walk they're doing is funny. And I do the walk and said, that is a funny way to walk. If you can turn your leg and go normal again. But if you can't fix your leg, it's not funny if that's your walk until you're 90 years old. Okay, and that's the difference. Whereas you kind of go, that's funny. It is funny. That doesn't mean you get the right to do it. And people go, oh, that guy's got a big nose. Hey, everyone. And you make a joke about someone's big nose, not without going, okay, this is really going to upset that person because they can't just take their nose off, whatever. And I give it an example, and it really sort of hits home because I go, that was an experience where I came out there and no one said anything to me, but it was just assumed, this is funny, that is not funny, you know, and to do that. And I have a whole thing
But
about
that's us as a grown-ups.
Well, exactly. That's the thing as well.
We're able to know that, but children don't.
They don't know that.
It's
And there's this experiment or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, like some of the funniest memories of my life are like friends of mine making jokes about friends of mine, you know, and how to slag someone. It's a real Irish thing. You know, slag. And then, of course, the old thing that Irish people do is, I was only messing. I was only messing. You kind of go, yeah, you're messing.
But it hurts.
Yeah, but you, and the first time you make a joke and you go, that's fine, your friend's lazy, whatever, and you get up there, get out of bed, this sort of thing, you know. And I have a friend of mine who's, you know, he's about 10 years younger than me, and I always joke that, you know, he acts like he's 70, you know, and he was jokes whatever. And like one time he was there a while ago and he was getting up off the couch and he's like, he's going, do that sort of thing, you know. And I go, listen, man, when I get to your age, I hope I'm not that. And he goes,
you're younger.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever, which is funny, okay. Yeah. Now, if I kept going on about that and making jokes over like that, eventually kind of goes, Reuben, just give it a rest. Like, we got the joke, okay?
Yeah.
But it's just making a point where I kind of go, you're 8 years younger than me, you know, and sometimes you act like an alpha, you know. And that's a funny thing to say, old people being young and me, you know, bald guy.
But when you laugh at yourself and you're giving that permission for others to laugh with you.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that needs to be learned. You know, and of course, there's bullying that has nothing to do with that, whatever, you know. And then I heard a phrase watching a movie, and I was like, that's great. And the phrase is, hurt people hurt people. It's so easy to remember. And everyone goes, what do you mean? Yeah. And the kids look at you and go,
the resentment and the anger.
And I said, there was a guy who's in school with me, whatever, and I remember we were about to go into an important exam. This is the intercert. This is showing my age, a long time ago, but before the junior cert, intercert, whatever. So, like, you know, a fairly important exam. Went in and he stole my pen. I was like, give me the pen, whatever. And I eventually got the pen, but he swung his hand and slapped me in the face, okay? And it just... like, it wasn't like the blood or anything like that, whatever, but it just gave me such a, and like, obviously I was kind of crying, I was kind of upset, whatever, and I wasn't like an 8-year-old, this is like a teenager. I remember sitting down, and like, it took me 20 minutes to sort of find myself like that, and I was always kind of like, I can't believe you did that to me. Now, years and years later, I found out that, you know, the guy had a very bad relationship with his father, and won't go into details, whatever, but stuff, and I kind of go, I kind of felt sorry, and it was just like, that was just normal in his sort of head, whatever. And the other thing is to, I say that for the bullying show, is to say that it's not you. There's nothing you've done. The joke I say is, I said, what's the corny line they use in every romantic comedy when someone's breaking up with someone else? What's the line?
It's not me. It's not me. It's you. I always get it wrong. It's not you. It's me.
Oh, it's not me. It's definitely you. It's definitely you're so annoying. Yeah, exactly. So and everyone gets it. Even like third class get it because it's such a trope. It's such a cliche.
And such a blaming sentence, isn't it?
Exactly. So well, the idea is that it kind of go. They're trying to be nice to kind of go, look, there's nothing wrong with you. You're very nice, however, but it's something in me. I just don't connect with you. And that's the idea. But I say with bullying, it's the opposite. It's, you know, if me being bullied, I can go, it's not me. It is actually you. Because the person who's bullied thinks that, you know, there's something wrong with me. Like, I've done something wrong, whatever. Yeah. And I remember another guy in secondary school used to, when one of these low down lockers, he used to stick his knee in my back getting his books, and I was like, oh. And I didn't know anyone. I went to a different secondary school than primary school, so I pretty much had no friends, and I had to kind of make new friends like that. And the first coming in as a first year is very sort of intimidating, but he did this to me, whatever, and I remember getting really upset about it. But then a few days in, saying to the guy beside me, I said, oh, he does that to me all the time. And he goes, yeah, he does it to me as well. He's an idiot. Just ignore him. And as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter if he does it to me, because it's not me. He does it to this guy as well. And he seems normal.
He'd do it to anybody.
He hasn't got 3 heads. He hasn't got 4 noses. There's nothing weird about him. Like that. So I'm ahead. I'm like, is there something wrong? Am I doing my hair? Like, am I making myself stand out? You're trying. How do I change myself so I don't stand out? And you're going to go, oh, it's just him. And, you know, hurt people. You know, it's something that happened to him and he thinks is nice. And then I found out that 3 or 4 other people, along with the low down lockers, like, oh yeah, he does it to me all the time. So then we kind of gang up together. And the most important thing is just having that sort of, you're not by yourself, you know,
belonging.
I belong to someone else, whatever. And then obviously, so if you tell someone, because obviously schools are blue in the face saying, you know, if you're bullied, tell a teacher, tell a parent, whatever, and that's fine, whatever. But then you get to be in the ratting out your mates, whatever. But if you're telling a friend, if the friend goes, sure, whatever, that's not really your friend. You know, if you tell your friend kind of goes, he does it to me, whatever. And if you have enough of them like that, you feel part of a group. Yeah. And then you kind of, and then even though the guy was still doing it to me, I was just like, it's more the psychological effect. The pain of the knee hit me in the back wasn't that bad.
That goes away.
Because it's not going to be that vicious, because he kind of goes, because obviously if I'm on the ground with a broken back, he's going to get expelled, whatever. So it's going to be enough, just not like a dead arm, something just enough to make you feel the pain, but not do it. But I was like, when you take the psychological thing out, I'm like, I don't really care about him kneeing me in the back. I'd be getting kneed in the back because I feel like I'm a freak and I'm a weirdo and different and out there. But if you do it to everyone, then sure, what difference does it make? It's grand. And then a few weeks later, basically a teacher sort of saw what was going on. I was like, right, cut that out, whatever, and swap lockers and all that, and got the problem resolved, and that was it. But it was just that talking to someone else, and you can do this in funny ways. I act out the bully and all this sort of stuff, to do it. That's the Push show, which is about the bullying and all that sort of stuff. But it's just, I had that as part of the hack show, and I was like, no, there's way too much stuff here.
There's too much, and they're two different topics.
They're two different topics as well. And also, I kind of go, instead of me trying to ram everything into an hour, school's like, look, that was great. Can we get you next year? I'm like, yeah, perfect. And the problem I have is that I've done some schools twice, so they've seen 2 shows. One school has booked me 3 times, so they're like, we've seen all your shows, you better get your new show out. Because the kids, I thought, I'll do a show once a year in a school, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th class, and then after the 4 shows, all those kids have moved on to secondary school, and they booked the show again. But now it's like, which is lovely that they're booking me more than I thought, which is great. But now it's like, I need to have the next show written. But I don't mind, because in my head I've just been obsessed with screen time and anything to do with screens. So literally anything to do with and just trying to come up with different things I can sort of notice. Like, for example, anytime you're on a screen, you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you're watching TV, you're on a phone, whatever, you're not running, playing, whatever. So I was like, okay, so is there something bad about sitting down? So a lot of the thing is about humans are not meant to sit down. We've only invented furniture a couple of thousand years ago. You have problems with our hips and our knees.
That's what our brain is for, to allow us to move.
Yeah, exactly. All this sort of stuff, whatever. And I said, if you come from a culture, like Indians, where you would do a lot of sort of squatting on they wouldn't use whatever. Their hips and knees are fine, because they're like, you're not meant to be sitting on a chair. We had these rulers. The king has a chair, the leader of the tribe has a chair, or a log he leans on, whatever. But not the peasants. Then it was like, hang on, I can afford it. I can make a chair, whatever. and now everyone has a chair, and you kind of that's ridiculous, whatever. And I go, but bear in mind, for millions and millions of years, whatever, like humans or animals that look like us or didn't have chairs, and it's only a relatively new thing. And now, if you have a screen, you're looking at that, so you have to sit down. If you're in the cinema, if you're on this, if you're on a watch, any screen like that. So I was like, that's a side effect of being on a screen, is sitting down. So I kind of go, let's do something. Now you may go, well, reading a book, you're sitting down as well. And I go, that's fine, but that's totally fine. So you need to do something which is active as well. And the other thing is, well, a load of schools. When I was in secondary school, I wasn't really into the school was very sort of rugby, sort of heavy, and I wasn't really into that. But a lot of schools, you sort of disappear if you're not into team sports, which is terrible, because our kids aren't really into team sports, but they love sports. Okay, and schools are very sort of aimed at. I understand for team sports, because you want that camaraderie and the give and take, whatever. But if you're not into GA, whatever, or different things like that, whatever, you kind of go, well, I guess you're just on your phone then, and you don't do that sort of thing. Where it's like, no, my son loves wall climbing, that all that sort of stuff, and then he does archery and
or art or
exactly. But like physical sports where you get into a sweat, and so it's an active thing. It's not just like you can do something creative, but the fact that you can do stuff that'll make you sweaty. You can be on a skateboard, whatever, which is not really kind of a communal thing. It's maybe you do it with your friends, but you do it by yourself. You learn a trick by yourself. You're not passing a skateboard. If you're on a team and you're passing a ball to someone else, you have to practice that, whatever. But this is the thing, and I kind of go, a lot of times people are, I'm not really into football, not really into rugby. Well, I just won't do any sport at all. Where I'm going, there's so much stuff,
so many options.
That you can do that, and that's another thing with this. I think that a lot of times, so we take the phone away and we take the gadgets away or the PlayStation away. Don't do that. What do I do? I do whatever, but don't do that. I'm like, if you fill the void with cool options, that's it. Even parkour, which is basically skateboarding without a skateboard, which is just basically, you see a railing, I'm going to do a flip on that railing, I'm going to jump around here, and you can watch videos of, starting in France, of people just sort of showing off with their bodies. And my brother's big into skateboarding, and he's like the 50. He's not he was huge into when he was younger, whatever. And he's just like, I still love it. And it's just that sort of being creative in a physical space. You're going to go, if I grabbed a tree there, if I swung off this and do that, and it's just making use of your
the challenge and boost to your self-esteem and confidence.
Exactly. And then there's a lot of guys online kind of go, I'll do this here, but I'll do a backflip over there, and they will spend months learning how to do a backflip, and the friend's like, no, you did a backflip, that's crazy, how'd you do that, whatever. And they go, I spent hours in my garden just doing this, landing on cushions.
I started doing yoga now, and I learned how to use my hands and stand my feet up, and I totally broke my nose. Oh my god. and my wrist, I was destroyed. I was like, but I did it.
Okay.
So it does push you through
Yeah.
pain and anything, because you're like that pride and challenge. It's amazing.
Yeah, so
Broken nose.
yeah, maybe not break the nose, yeah. But that sort of idea where it's like, yeah, there are things you can do that don't involve a screen, and also bear in mind, we live in Ireland, okay, the weather is miserable most of the time, and kids are like, it's wet outside, don't do that. So they're going to go, it's wet outside, I'm just going to go on a screen. And so that's the thing where it's like, no, having a book, whatever, and doing something like that, I could do a whole show on just books, When I mentioned that, a few librarians were like, I will book that in a heartbeat if you do that show. I was like, just give me a second, I have a million shows, And like after I've done the Distracted one, which hopefully I'll have ready in a few weeks' time, like I already have plans for like the next like 6-7 shows in my head. Because whenever I get an idea, I go, oh, that's not good. Oh, that'll be good in show number 8. That'll be perfect. And I see a clip from someone, go, that's really good. That'll go in there. Because previously it's like, oh, it's not relevant to the show I'm doing. I would bin it. Now it's like, no. And I have a random section where it's like, here's random ideas. I go, that's really inspiring. I heard that talk. That's great. I could use that for something. I'll convert that. So a 9-year-old.
Does your brain ever stop?
It doesn't stop. It's exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting. So I get there. And that's why it's funny, because I do the show for an hour, and the teachers are they're kind of looking, this guy talks an awful lot, but the pupils are on board because TikTok generation, and they're like, okay, we have to really pay attention because this guy talks so fast, and you get that sort of stuff on you. You're kind of like, I have 300 more questions to ask him, but I asked him one and he's talking for an hour and a half. That's my
answered all of my questions.
All my questions without even knowing what's going on, But I think, but having that sort of sense of fun about it as well. And also another thing which really bothers me, even in regards to kids' entertainment at birthday parties, is there's agencies out there where they basically hire some teenager to come in. They give them a weekend training of how to do balloon animals and a bulb machine, and they go out there, whatever, and they're like, let's sing la 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 la, and they do some sort of thing, whatever, and they kind of go, in their eyes they're going, this is great, I get more money than I would have working at McDonald's here, because they're getting, but most of the money's going.
McDonald's pays really well.
Oh yeah, but for an hour, and suddenly they're kind of going, I can get 100 quid. This is crazy. I'm not getting for what would be a menial job that we do working at a low sort of pay job. They can do something like this. The person who sets with the agency does that, and they sort of dial it in. And they're perfectly pleasant, whatever. But like, if something goes wrong during the show, or they got a boisterous child, they're like, I'm practically a kid myself, and it's hard. And I remember seeing a friend of mine went to a thing recently, and he said, there's a magician here. He said, he's brutal. And I was like, why? I said, I won't mention any names, whatever. But he said, I said, yeah. And he said, I said, that guy hates kids, And he goes, why is he doing it? He said, because he thought it was cool when he was trying to start off. Now he has a mortgage and a family, and he's paid bills, and he has a established business, whatever. But and a lot of entertainers see sort of kids as a stepping stone to proper entertainment, which is adult entertainment, and this kid stuff is like, it's annoying. I've seen like some magicians say to me, well, that's all just cash gigs. Like, I would never put that on the books now. I'm like, what? Like, that it doesn't even count. Like, it's just like, that's just a little side thing, whatever.
Like
the real thing is like the adult stuff, and I do weddings, table magic. Now I do all that sort of stuff. I'll go around, for adults table magic and do close-up stuff. That's fine. But the kids stuff I love, and also when you see me doing stuff, you kind of go, this guy really enjoys this, and also that's why
you're here today, because I saw it. I was like, this is amazing.
It's just like, I am dialing it in. I memorize the script.
No, I don't want to talk to you. I don't get paid for that.
Exactly. And you're forgetting the whole thing. So I think that being passionate, but also I've had more than like 3 or 4 business type people come up to me going, this hack show, it is great to listen to. When are you going to like franchise the idea? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, like, you can train people in, and then you haven't got the inconvenience of going around the country and doing the show. And I was like, I don't understand. They're like, no, like, I appreciate what you're doing, but like, it doesn't scale. And I kind of go, I don't. This is not to scale. And they're like, I don't understand.
So what are you doing for?
And they kind of go, why would you do all these things when you could be at home? And I'm like, what? In front of a computer at an office, not meeting all these kids, and all the stuff, whatever. And I said, and he goes, but that's not a workable business model. I'm like, hang on. I said, you don't. If Tommy Tiernan goes on tour, Tommy Tiernan doesn't pay a comedian to do his set for him, okay? And he's like, well, that's different. I'm like, it's the exact same thing, whatever. Yeah. I have a show that I'm really proud of, okay, and I go on my hone and I work on it, whatever. And also, I spent my entire life doing shows on the weekends when people are off work for birthday parties. Now schools, it's only Monday to Friday, so I have enough shows now that occasionally I'm like, I can take a Sunday off, which I never used to get. Or if I had a quiet weekend where there are no bookings, I'm like, worrying about the old mortgage and stuff. And now it's like, I've got 3 school shows this week. I go into there, you go in, and you're so appreciated by the staff. The kids are just dying to see you.
But it's you. Yeah, it's your essence is the show.
Well, that's it, exactly. So I don't want to scale this. I don't want to franchise this, whatever. I just need 281 schools, because only 281 days of the year you do that. Of course, I made the fatal mistake about a month ago. Someone twisted my arm and said, will you come and do a secondary school? And I was like, that's a different thing. I said, look, first years, just do first years, because we saw your website and then we saw it says for primary school, please just come and do first years. So I was like, okay, this will just be like a pilot, like a trial sort of thing. So so I did the thing, whatever. As soon as I walked in, I'm imagining, big 16-year-olds with beards. But I come in there and I'm like, it's just a gang of kids. Like they're just, I got to go. Yeah. And also, if anything, first years so need this, because primary school kids, when you're in 6th class,
they're the oldest.
You're the king. You're the boss. If there's anyone bullying, it's the 6th class bullying the younger ones. Now you're in 1st class. You are the target of any bully, because they're like, you don't know what the rope. You don't know where the fresh meat to be for the grinder. So I said, this, if anything, what happens? You get bullied. So I can, there's the push show. So what you do? You spend way too much time on your phone. That's the social media, that's hack show, whatever. And now you're really upset. So now you need the well-being show to sort of get your head sorted. So I go, this is really relevant. So the guy was there and he goes, who wants him to come back? Yeah, and they're like, yeah. Yeah, great. So then he just told all of his friends, because he's a librarian and librarians network are amazing. So now I have secondary schools booking me. Could you do 5th year? I'm like, I'm not doing 5th year. I said, I will do 1st year. I said, the show, I performed the show to 1st class. I can't have a show that is relevant for 1st class and 6th year students. Okay. Yeah. Also, I think 5th and 6th year, the horn has left the barn at that point. I think really, you shouldn't have a phone that will you get off, the guy's a foot taller than me, I could beat me up. So I go,
it's still the awareness. Help me now when I'm swiping.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm like, dopamine, and we have dopamine tolerance as well. I've discovered that if we use it all in the morning, we pick up our phone in the morning, we use up all of our dopamine tolerance. So then nothing is exciting enough and good enough during the day. So I'm like, oh no, he's hacked my brain.
So it's just, so I kind of go, I was there and my friend was like, but there's 730 secondary schools. I go, yeah, but there's 3,500 primary schools.
I thought you were just only 1 million.
I only need a tenth of them. A tenth of them. I can't even do, if a tenth want to book me, I can't do that. I can't fit in a tenth of schools. Obviously, I live in Kildare, so I'm trying to advertise to places near me. First of all, I will happily drive to Cork or go to places further afield. Having schools around here is kind of handy and to be home and do that. So this guy was just angry about, why do you have to franchise the idea? And I was like, no, because his obsession with business, where it's like, I come up with a great business idea and then I step away and then that just works, and then I go back to sitting in my office just clicking, and I go, I don't want to be in an office all day.
What's the point?
I spend enough time emailing schools, telling them about the show, and then what time do you want to be there, and double checking the address and Google Maps, all sort of stuff, because I'm in a different venue every day of the week. I have to make sure all that stuff. So I have enough time in the office. I don't need more time in the office. I want to be at these places doing it like that. And then after COVID, I just want to be busy. COVID was just like when they if someone had said to me before COVID, an event so big is going to happen that every single one of your shows for a year will be cancelled, but not one person will ring to cancel, I'd be like, what, like World War III? Like, what event would that be? And then the head paediatrician comes on RTE News when the COVID started and said all kids' birthday parties for the next year need to be cancelled. And my wife's like, that is not good. And then literally the diary just empties.
Scary,
and the first show that I was meant to do that Saturday, I rang the person and said, you expect me? Like, I don't not show up for a show. Like, I don't let people down. I'm very particular about make sure of timing, and I leave lots of time between shows. I'm never late to shows. I'm very particular about that. And I said, you're not expecting me on Saturday. And she's like, no, I've not heard. It's the end of the world. I said, do you live within
won't even be here.
Yeah, do you live within 2K of my house? I live in Dublin. I said, no, I live in Kildare. She goes, look, I'll see you in a year or whenever this nonsense blows over, whatever. And that was it. Yeah. So then it was, I didn't ring anyone else. And every time I felt like I should be ringing this person, I should be showing up, whatever. And my wife's like, there's nothing. It's all gone.
Just don't go.
Yeah. So now I kind of go, I'm just happy to be busy.
So grateful and appreciative. Yeah.
Which is great. And then if it needs to be, if it gets too busy with the shows, whatever, I kind of go, that's fine. I can ease back on the weekends, sort of performance. And there's times a year, like communions in May, are like I already have bookings for next May, at the moment. And when we're recording this, it's October, and there's certain dates where it's like, that's gone already, because they cannot change the date. It has to be that date because that's the day of the communion. And I can do maybe 5 1-hour shows in a day. I once did 6, which is crazy. At the end, I sit down there and my wife's like, are you okay? She's like, just let me sit down. I've done a lot of talking today. I'm very tired here. I'll sit down here, whatever. So that's a very intense day. So with this doing lots of shows, but spreading it over Monday to Friday is lovely, you know. And then you get a bit of your weekends
I know
back.
it's for such a good cause as well.
Well, that's the thing as well.
helping
Yeah, it's nice having it.
mental
And then a school will go, listen, can you do something on this? So someone
Yeah.
like the next show is going to be a whole thing about sort of fake news, and which ties again with phones and social media. It's another aspect.
I think that should all become a subject in the school.
Yeah,
Because
like
you
it,
can't do 1 hour. Like you can't learn all you need to learn in 1 hour a year or 2 year. You know,
Yeah.
2 hour shows.
I thought what my premise for the show, I don't know if I can pull this off, but I thought it would be very funny if I go in to teach students, primary school students, about, you know, not to believe everything on the internet, but to go in and basically lie to them for an hour. Okay, everything I say is untrue. And say, now, C.S. Lewis once said, and I bring a quote, show the quote like that, and then it's just a quote that like I made up. And then I kind of go, he didn't say that. And you go, what? And you go,
Yeah.
I said that. You need to check your sources. You need
Yeah.
to check. And I saw this teenager and a video of that, and he said this, and no, he didn't. He's just an idiot. He just made up something off the top of his head. Okay, you can't believe something. Yeah, and that's how trends are. Someone's like, well, everyone wears these runners. And you're like, no, you wear the runners, and you're getting money from the guy who sells the runners. And now all the teenagers are like, we have to get these runners.
And they're
whatever.
rubbish.
And I go, why? What? Like, and people go, I want to Wikipedia. I kind of go, my granny can change Wikipedia, you know. So yeah, it's not an encyclopedia, you know. Now you can probably trust most stuff, because why would someone put malicious information on Wikipedia? You have to understand people's motivations for that. But I love the idea of just going and just lying to kids.
Yeah.
I never saw I say something and the kids go, that's not true. I go, very good, you got that, okay, and have a whole thing about that. And that could be a whole show about everything from, like, even with books, just look at the book, like, what way is the author writing this? And
I think what you do
critical
is
thinking
really
about stuff,
powerful
you know.
as well for teachers to
Yeah.
show teachers how children learn,
Yeah.
and that you can't just tell them things. You have
Yeah.
to show them, and all the prompts you use, and all the experiencing and questioning and engagement.
Yeah.
That's how they should learn in the
I
classroom.
think so, and also I try and get as many emotions into the show. Like, it sounds weird, but you know, you can sit there trying to study something, but I guarantee the time you got embarrassed in the canteen when you were in first year because you stood in the wrong place, and everyone's like, dummy, why are you standing there?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, sorry, and you'll never forget
Yeah.
that because you're embarrassed. And people tie emotions to memory.
Yeah.
So if I can make the kids feel something during the show, so obviously I want you to feel upset. Are you crying? Yeah, I don't want that to happen, and I have to be very careful if I'm doing experiments with bringing kids up, because I only want to bring a kid up who puts their hand up as well, to make sure I don't want to upset anyone, because it's no point if I make a point and I get someone upset, you know.
Yeah.
And I just only hope and pray that, you know, stuff I've done, whatever, and response has been very good from people. But if anything, I kind of go, I need to improve that a little bit and just change this a little bit like that, and to have it come up. So if I have something where I go, I'm going to make this person, like I have one experiment with, is to do with peer pressure. And what I do is I have 10 kids come up and I give them a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it just says, when Reuben says apple, sit down. When he says banana, stand up. Okay? And I say, now you're not looking at the bit of paper yet. Okay, it's got an instruction on it. You can look at it now. Okay, you look at it for 10 seconds, you remember it, and they go, yeah, this is easy. Okay, great, put it away. And then I go, pineapple, okay, and nobody moves, you know, and cabbage, nobody moves over. And then I say, you know, apple, and everybody sits down, okay. And I go, one of you was given a different instruction, okay. And the kid on the very end, okay, they were told, if you say banana, do the opposite, okay. But they sit down because they see 9 friends sitting down, and they kind of go, oh, I'm an idiot, I got it wrong. And they sit down. I said, nobody wants to feel stupid. And if your friends are doing something, if they're bullying someone else and you don't feel stupid and not be bullying somebody, you'll join in like that. And that's it. And I said, now, sometimes in school, the person says standing up, and I go, it doesn't happen very often, but I go, fair play to you. I said, you've got your own personality. And even though 9 people sat down, you stood up. And she's like, I knew I was right. You go, very good. And I said, here's the weird thing. They've done experiments where they will bring someone into a room and they'll have 2 circles on a wall, one clearly bigger than the other one. And they'll ask 10 people, which one is bigger, A or B? And everyone goes, A, it's twice the size of it, like that. Then they'll bring a person in with 9 actors. And the 9 actors will go, B is bigger. And the person will go, 70% of the time will say, B is bigger, even though it's clearly smaller, okay? And they were like, and the person after would go, why do you, like, I got the instructions wrong or something. I just want to make a big scene, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, but all they have to do is get one of the actors to tell the truth. Okay, if just one, even though so one says, oh yeah, A is bigger, 8 of them say 9 is bigger. The other person will go, no, A is bigger. Okay, and the point to get across that if your friends are bullying someone, you don't have to bring a gang of your friends over. If you just say, guys, leave them alone. Here, come on, let's do something else. If one person is a dissenting voice against the gang, you can dispel. They say like 70% of people will change their mind and will go with the one person and not go with the crowd if they hear even one person do that. And that's very powerful, because you go, I'm just a 6-year-old kid, I'm going to go, and there's 10 people here, I go, yeah, but if you're the one person who says, guys, don't be mean, come on, we do this instead, they'll just go, oh yeah, you're right, we're being mean, and that's it. And most of them will just stop doing that.
No one wants to be on their own doing that.
And they go, why are we doing that? They go, because people love copying people. And why do we first? Because people love to spot differences. And why do we spot differences? Because thousands of years ago in the jungle, if we see something move, we go,
survival.
It's either an animal I might be able to eat. So if I move quick, I'll miss, I won't eat and I'll die. Or it's an animal that wants to eat me. Okay, so we spot differences. So if someone looks different than us, we spot differences straight away. And unfortunately, we focus on that. And then we say something, trying to be funny.
And we find safety on that as well.
Exactly, yeah. And then safety in numbers, whatever. But then if you start doing something nasty, just one person just go, guys, this isn't cool. That's all you have to say. It hasn't got to be like, guys, I don't think we should do this. Like, you haven't got to be that annoying, sort of nagging person. And even sometimes, if there's a pressure from someone to do something, I say, just suggest something else. Just put it off. Just going to go, no, not at the moment. That's it. Because they'll just forget. They don't care. And as you say, hey, we're going to jump off the school roof. And you're kind of going, okay, that's probably not a good idea. And you're going to go, oh, actually, hang on, we're going to go down to the playground here. We're going to go on the roundabout thing. We're going to spin around that 10 times, and then we'll see who can run the furthest without falling over. Okay, and everyone, that sounds class. Just give them something else. People, most of the time, it's just the idle hands, devil's work, whatever. And they're just like, oh, we're going to jump off the roof. Why? Because we've nothing better to do. Yeah. We take away the phone. What are we going to do? We're going to vandalise. Why? Because we've nothing better to do. So it's like, just have something to do, come up with a plan and do that, and that can help out as well.
And it takes practice, but again, if that cycle, if they're on their phones, they're not developing their creativity, and they're in that cycle, so it'll take time, but it's worth it. Yeah, definitely. And certainly with the phone, like during COVID, when it got really bad, and like the shows where I was doing a couple of Zoom shows, which I absolutely loved, because I'm an absolute nerd, and I loved all that sort of stuff, and people were so glad to have something over nothing. But I actually, at one point, it was kind of like, I think I might actually need to pack this in, because I thought, if COVID was just going to go on indefinitely, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be in a room with a room full of strangers again, everything might be online. So I said, the second thing I was good at is coding and stuff. So I started joining in coding sort of schools and stuff. And they said, there's 3 things we're looking for potential employees, okay, because it's a sort of an apprenticeship you do. And the least important thing is, like, are you good at the job, whatever, because we can train anyone to do pretty much anything within reason, okay. The second most important thing is, are you enthusiastic? There can be a guy who knows much, but you are way more enthusiastic. You don't know as much as him, but we just know that you'll really get into this. And the most important thing is, can you work with other people? Can you have a conversation? Can you talk to other people? Because you can be an absolute genius, but if you can't look someone in the eye, if you can't kind of go, oh yeah, are you okay? You look upset, whatever, or do something like that, whatever. And the problem now is that everybody is on their phones. There's no small talk anymore. At a bus stop, it's just 5 people being really entertained by their device at a doctor's waiting room. And the thing is, people go, oh, it's just for kids and stuff. Same with adults. People don't chat. You get another person there chatting away and looking around going, there's no one to chat to, And then this is what companies want for potential kids, for potential employees in the future, is that we want someone who can work as a team. We don't want someone like a robot, because we can hire an AI to do that. We need someone who's friendly. If an AI is now friendlier than the humans, I can crack jokes, whatever. That's a bit scary, As a joke earlier on about we wanted AIs to clean our toilets. Now AIs are writing poems for us. We're like, no, we don't want AIs to be creative. We want AIs to do menial tasks. And they're like, no, I'll write a novel and I'll come. And they're like, no, you're just replacing. You clean my toilet. Yeah, you're replacing. You clean my toilet. You're meant to replace all the crummy jobs, not all the really cool ones. So it's funny how it's gone full circle. Thank you so much.
Thanks. That was what, 11 hours. We had 11 hours on the dot. I swore I wouldn't go 1 second over 11 hours. Yeah, exactly.
So what's the next project? Finishing your fourth show?
So fourth show,
being booked out every day of the year.
So that'll be a couple of weeks time. Hopefully, I get that one out. And then I like on my website, like whenever I go to school, I kind of say, look, I'll put you on a little mailing list here, and they go, please don't send us lots of emails. It's whenever I write a show, I guarantee it'll be more. You'll get 2 emails a year, and it'll be me going, I have a brand new show.
Not that I have that much time to be sending emails anyway.
Exactly, I have to do that. So then other shows, one about like not trusting your sources, and another one is I want to have one about going viral on the internet. Everybody wants to be viral on the internet until they're viral on the internet, and it's something they don't want to be viral for. And that's what people, I got this cool picture. Oh, that picture of me is on the internet. And just to show, because kids have this idea that influencers are making a fortune online when they're all waffling, and not many people
and
their
mental health is suffering,
all that sort of stuff as well. So and I have ones on addictive things, and ones, can you do green schools? I have all the sort of stuff. It'll be the next few years. I've a million ideas in my head forever, so I won't be stuck for ideas. And the schools kind of say, will you do this for me? I'm like, yeah, just go onto my website, give me an idea for something, give me a bit of time to get it worked out and do that, and that's it.
Amazing.
That's
and one piece of advice you'd give to anyone listening?
Let me
Parents,
see.
let's see, parents, teachers, listening.
Yeah, it's
phones.
just, I think certainly with regards to the technology, I said if you can start young, with start as young as you can. There's no too young an age, and just kind of say the phrase, phones are for teenagers. I think it's just a simple thing, just to kind of say, oh yeah, when you're a teenager on a phone, as opposed to that, even though the kid may blatantly know friends who are 10 and have phones, you kind of go, the assumption is it's that. And if enough people do that and say, oh, when you're a teenager, you get the phone, whatever. And if we start off young, whatever, literally 4 or 5 years from now, we could sort of push that through, and it would make a huge difference. I know it goes back to secondary school; they're back to having the phones again, but we'll worry about primary school first. They'll be more aware of that, and every day your child's brain gets a bit more developed. It's able to cope with that.
And if they had the childhood that they need to have, then they'll be able to understand.
Exactly.
How
if they get to play all that sort of stuff, and do that, and it makes such a difference. So definitely, just assume that the phones are for teenagers, and if you have a 5th or 6th pupil who has a phone, that's fine. That the horse left the barn, but just be mindful, all that sort of stuff.
And be confident in those boundaries and rules you're setting.
And get me to come to your school. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
You.
It was really good fun, and brilliant.
Definitely. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to like, share and follow so you'll never miss out on upcoming episodes. See you next time!